Hello, my good sir, my uh, my good sir. Make no uncertain terms. This is a shots fired video against the law enforcement community. I did. It kind of is. It kind of is me taking shots at them. A big part of it is I don't. I don't get something that I hear a lot coming from law enforcement social media. I don't get it. Um, it's different from the ethos that I was familiar with in the military, and I just I don't think it's in line with what law enforcement largely is. Although, allegedly they don't have a constitutional requirement to protect people. Um, I will read someone's social media post. I'm not gonna say who it is. I'm sure you could find it. Trying not to do the Michael J. Fox cam right now, because I guess they're trying to be the next Chris Costa, and I don't want that attention. I don't like people like that. So uh, I'm gonna quote now. Whether I was operational in permissive or non-permissive environments, working as a PSD contractor, force protection operative, force protection operative. He was on Force Pro, but he was an operative, meaning he fucking did backflips out of the fucking towers, and he fucking had a ghillie suit on when he was working the ECP. SWAT cop, undercover agent, or a Leo instructor. So he's a federal agent, or he's an undercover police officer. I don't know. Not super familiar with law enforcement terms. My mindset has always remained the same. Me and my brothers were coming home alive, no matter what it took. Uh, and that's it. That's what I consistently have a problem with, and I always see it popping up uh, from the mouths of law enforcement community members. We're coming home. We're not making no sacrifices. We'll kill everyone before we have to die. We are allergic to bullets. You can't fucking make me die. I'll murder you. You understand me? I'll fucking murder you. If I am scared at all, I'm gonna fucking kill you, right? Um, and that's kind of what I get out of that, right? It's we're coming home alive, regardless of the consequences. We'll fail the mission. I don't give a shit. We're coming home, and it's cowardly, really. I mean, it just kind of blows my mind that that's a mindset, and that's sort of a mantra, sort of motto that cops and law enforcement officials repeat. Because to me, it sets the wrong tone completely for someone who's a defender of peace and justice. Um, I want to say like the Soldier's Creed or the has self-sacrifice in it. There's self-sacrifice throughout the culture of the military, and a lot of people know full well that you may not return from certain missions. It's part of the job, and oftentimes it's better to die and complete the mission than to survive and get a shitload of people killed. Be, uh, if I was I wouldn't have sung like a songbird, for example. I would have rather had been tortured to death than give up a bunch of information, because that's blood on your hands at that point, right? Whether directly or indirectly, you can cause other people's deaths by not being willing to make that ultimate sacrifice. So when I see the law enforcement community openly and proudly saying that they won't sacrifice for you, they'll shoot you in the face, but they won't sacrifice for you. It's disconcerting. and to me, like I said, it sets the wrong tone. So, because I don't want to go down the river with a bunch of people half in, half out of the boat. I don't want you saying, well, yeah, I'll kind of get into a gunfight. I'll maybe bayonet charge, but I really don't. I can't get killed. It's fucking off the menu, Roger. I can't get killed. So if this boat is going into a place of mortal danger, maybe I shouldn't go. I don't want to fucking go down the river with people like that whatsoever. So if you're a fucking cop like this dude, and you bring that sort of mentality onto a PSD contract team, I'm gonna do my best to get you fucking fired. Because the last thing I need is you shooting people because you're fucking scared. Right? Sometimes you have to risk your own life and be unsafe and be scared in order to accomplish a greater mission than your own life. So, I personally think it's not just different from the sort of military mentality of self-sacrifice. It's conflictive. It's actually diametrically opposed, and this is why I hate when people say the military law enforcement community. To me, it's not the same. The military community is separate from the law enforcement community. There's too many differences for them to be the same community. They face different dangers, they face different enemies, and they have a different culture, a different mindset, and obviously they have different limits on what's permissible in terms of sacrifice. Always come home no matter what. What does no matter what even fucking mean, honestly? I mean, I think to any reasonable person, no matter what implies that they would do something immoral or unethical to come home, which again sets the wrong tone, and it establishes this this air of thuggery, which people have been accusing the police of lately. So I think it's bullshit, and I think it continues that sort of hyper focus on tactical and firearms training when the police need to be far more well-rounded than a line infantryman, right? And that's what kind of pisses me off is when I see privates in a line infantry unit doing counterinsurgency work, putting themselves out there in vulnerable or dangerous positions in order to connect with the community, in order to make those atmospheric rounds, and in general cultivating a relationship of trust with the locals. They at times, depending on the sort of examples you're looking at, they conduct policing better than fucking police do, and I think the culture behind it is partly why. No matter what it took, we're coming home. Again, to me, that implies you're willing to murder, steal, bribe, embezzle. You're willing to do whatever it takes. That's what That's what you're literally saying. And I'm sure someone out there from officer.com or wherever the fuck would say, "Well, no, it means we'll fight to the end." No, if that's the case, you would say that. If your motto is we'll fight to accomplish the mission and protect people to the very end, then you'd say that. You wouldn't say we're gonna come home. We're gonna be safe. And for someone who's a professional at not being safe, right? There's people out there who say we're not in the business of being safe, right? Which is true. And for a professional to belong to that community of not being safe, to have their motto be, "Oh, we're going to be safe at the end of the day," it just seems a weird dichotomy, right? You have the reality. The reality is you're expected to be unsafe on a daily occurrence, whether you're deployed or you're working the beat, right? And your motto is, "I got to be safe. I don't want to fucking die," right? It boggles the mind, right? and I think it encourages wrong think. And I'm not someone who usually likes to unironically encourage thought policing, but there's a sort of left and right limits as to what you should encourage when you need people, those type A personalities. You need people who want to accomplish the mission and will always be searching for avenues to accomplish that mission. Failure, right, is not words in the U.S. Army dictionary, right? You don't want to put that in your soldiers' minds. We'll do this if we can. That's not something you want to instill into your soldiers. You don't want to instill failure as being an acceptable option. And that's part of cultivating a culture of warriors and winners and people who are willing to sacrifice. And, jumping on that grenade, literally is, you have to portray that in a positive light, and you have to honor the people who do that, because you're trying to cultivate, a community that honors people who do that. And when one of your big mottos is coming home no matter what, and surviving no matter what, I think that it sends the wrong message. And regardless of the true meaning of it, I think it cultivates very selfish law enforcement officers, and people who are risk averse. They don't want to mitigate risk. They're risk averse. They don't want risk, because at the end of the day, right, they have to come home. That's the most important thing. Not the mission, not the community, not justice. It's coming home. And I think that's bullshit. And this is why you get people mag dumping women in pajamas through their police car window. Because they are so fucking scared. They're so terrified of risk. Well, it's in your goddamn motto to be a fucking coward. So I don't buy into a lot of the complaints about the law enforcement community. I've worked with them in the past. A lot of them are good people, but there is I think a negative culture that encourages selfish attitudes, and so my camera died, filming this video, and I wanted to film a sort of recap of this critique on law enforcement memes or mottos. And I did like a really small cursory search on officer.com and Google. I found a few examples of it kind of being proselytized in t-shirts and other sort of easily digestible media formats, just to kind of illustrate that it is a thing, and I didn't find something off of a really obscure backwater website and was kind of touting it as a mainstream idea. You can go on officer.com and search for it. It's pretty common. Fuck my dicks. Oh, jeez. Now, the other thing I very rarely get, especially for a job that so heavily relies on community relations, are the memes or the jokes that I see constantly that say, "Oh, you said fuck the police. Well, fuck you. I'm not answering any of your calls. I'm gonna have the dispatcher disconnect your phone. I'm gonna let those gangbangers rape and murder you because you critiqued me." And that's, I think also a pretty disturbing trend. When we become immune to critique, we're gonna stagnate as a community. As part of the reason why I made this video is I think it's especially important for people who we consider peers to critique us, right? Especially if they have complementary or similar experiences. And with this video, I'd like to obviously emphasize that law enforcement is not the only community rife with with bad ideas or bad mentalities. Sallyport Global got caught being sociopathic criminals overseas. Triple Canopy just settled a lawsuit for fraud. And I've met private military contractors who were very, very mercenary, and I don't think held attitudes that were moral or let alone helpful to the U.S. Oh yeah, man, fucking pay me enough money and I'll rape a baby for you. That's a terrible attitude to have. So you can find your bad eggs everywhere, and I think that's one of the reasons why it's so important for us to constantly be critiquing and policing each other, so we can kind of make a hostile environment for those shitbags. So, but yeah, that's more or less the end of the video, and I'll put up the examples at some point. But that's it. Anyway, I will talk to you later when I get banned from officer.com.